Alright, we're going to finish up the Valaquenta and then we can get onto the Quenta Silmarillion. Oh, yeah. So we've met the Valar, we've met the Maya. The last bit of the Valaquenta is of enemies. Okay, last of all, says the book, is set the name of Melkor, he who arises in might. He's very sort of Luciferian, he falls from splendour to darkness, and it's a whole thing and everyone's really disappointed. Now, there's a group of elves called the Noldor who have suffered the most at his hands, and they refuse to call him Melkor. They name him Morgoth, and that's the name that he's probably better known by, Dark Lord Morgoth, to the people of Arda, which is the world. Have I mentioned that so far? Arda is the world. Anyway, Melkor had power and knowledge similar to the other Valar. In fact, he had more of it than any of the others, but he ended up turning it to his own purposes. At first, he coveted the light, then he just kind of coveted everything and wanted to turn it all to his will. Even though he's one guy, he's pretty powerful, enough that he can spend a really long time fighting with the Valar and several of the Maiar without, outright losing. So he's a strong thing. Of course, there are those of the Maiar who turn to his service, either because they're lured in by how great and how splendid he is, or because he basically lures them in with gifts, bribes, promises of power, and that kind of thing. Valaquenta makes a point of singling out the Balrogs, or the Valaraucor, as one particular kind of Maiar that turned to Melkor's service and were particularly dreadful. And then there's one more enemy that Valaquenta singles out, another servant of Sauron. Someone who initially started out as a servant of Aule, who you might remember as the Valar associated with smithing and making things. That Maia's name, although we don't find it here, we can find it elsewhere, was Myron. But he is known to all the people of Middle-earth as Sauron, or sometimes as Gorthar the Cruel. Valaquenta makes a point of observing that of all the evil that Melkor wrought, and Melkor's deeds are on an absolutely enormous scale, tremendous magnitude, Valaquenta observes that Sauron was only a part of that. That doesn't exonerate Sauron, though. Like, the book makes a point of noting that Sauron was only less evil than Melkor, in that at first, at least, he was serving another's evil orders rather than his own purposes. But, of course, once Melkor's out of the picture, which happens a lot later, Sauron takes his own path and is, he's not great. And that's Valaquenta. That is the second part of the printed Silmarillion, and next time we're getting into the Quenta Silmarillion, which is by far the biggest bit and has a lot of chapters, and some of them are really depressing, so it's going to be a lot of fun. But hey, now you know who all the Valar and Maiar are, you know what Gandalf used to be called, you know what Sauron used to be called, so you can impress all your friends with useless trivia. Hooray!